One single movie cost so much money to produce that it could have funded the space programs of several small nations. We are talking about a budget so astronomical that when it was revealed to the public, it genuinely shocked Hollywood veterans who had spent decades in the industry. In this video, we are counting down the most expensive movies ever made, breaking down exactly where all that money went, and revealing the one film that quietly redefined what big-budget filmmaking even means. Some of these numbers are going to seem impossible. One of them involves a budget that ballooned so far out of control that the studio executives considered pulling the plug entirely, and what happened next changed cinema history forever. Stick around because the most surprising entry on this list is not the one you are expecting. To understand why movies cost this much, you need to understand how Hollywood accounting and production economics actually work. The sticker price you hear about, the so-called production budget, is almost never the full story. Studios typically spend an additional 50 to 100% of the production budget on marketing and distribution. So when a film is listed at $300 million to make, the studio is often looking at $500 million or more before a single ticket is sold. On top of that, talent deals, deferred payments, back-end profits, and reshoots can quietly inflate costs in ways that never make the official budget headline. Hollywood has always been an industry where money moves in shadows, and the biggest films are the best example of that. Now let us get into the actual films, starting from expensive and working our way to the truly mind-bending. Pirates of the Caribbean, On Stranger Tides, released in 2011, held the record for years as the most expensive movie ever made with a production budget of approximately $379 million. That number is staggering on its own. But when you factor in that Johnny Depp alone was reportedly paid around $55 million for his performance, the budget starts to make a different kind of sense. The film shot in locations across Hawaii, the United Kingdom, Puerto Rico, and Los Angeles. Every location required massive crew deployments, period-accurate set construction, and the logistical complexity of managing thousands of cast and crew members in remote environments. The film ultimately earned $1,045 million at the global box office, making it profitable, but barely, once marketing costs are included. Avengers: Age of Ultron came in at around $365 million in 2015. Marvel's interconnected universe required not just standard film production but the seamless integration of CGI characters, cross-film continuity, and simultaneous production of related content. The visual effects budget alone reportedly exceeded $150 million. Every single frame featuring Ultron, the Vision, or the massive battle sequences required teams of hundreds of animators working for months at a time. That kind of labor cost compounds fast. But here is what nobody talks about when it comes to big-budget productions. The money is not always about vanity or excess. Sometimes the enormous cost reflects genuine creative ambition that simply cannot be achieved cheaply. James Cameron's Avatar, released in 2009, had a production budget somewhere between $237 and $300 million depending on the source. Cameron himself has been deliberately vague. The film required the invention of entirely new camera technology, motion capture systems that did not exist before production began, and a world-building process so complex that Cameron essentially had to create a functioning alien language, ecosystem, and culture from scratch. The result was the highest-grossing film in history, eventually surpassing $2.9 billion globally. The money was not wasted. It was invested. Waterworld, released in 1995, became one of Hollywood's most famous cautionary tales about runaway budgets. Originally greenlit at $62 million, the production spiraled to approximately $175 million, an almost unthinkable sum for the mid-90s. The primary culprit was the film's central set, a massive floating atoll built on the open ocean near Hawaii. The structure was repeatedly damaged by storms, had to be rebuilt multiple times, and the sheer logistics of filming on water day after day created costs that no one had adequately planned for. The film became a punchline. But here is the counterintuitive part: Waterworld eventually turned a profit through home video sales and television rights. The box office numbers looked like a failure. The long tail told a different story. Cleopatra, made in 1963, deserves special mention because adjusted for inflation, it remains arguably the most expensive film ever produced in real dollar terms. Its budget of $44 million in 1963 translates to well over $400 million in today's money. The production was catastrophically mismanaged from the beginning. Elizabeth Taylor fell critically ill during filming in London, forcing a complete restart of production in Rome. Sets were built and abandoned. Directors were replaced. Thousands of extras were employed for months at a time. The famous Egyptian scenes required handcrafted costumes, elaborate set construction, and an on-location workforce that at times exceeded 26,000 people. The studio, 20th Century Fox, nearly went bankrupt making the film. It is a story that echoes through Hollywood every time a production begins to spiral. Tangled, Disney's 2010 animated feature, surprises most people when they hear its budget, approximately $260 million. For an animated film, that number seems absurd until you understand what went into it. Disney's animators spent years developing a proprietary new rendering technique designed to replicate the look and texture of classical oil paintings, specifically the paintings of Rembrandt and Fragonard. Every single strand of Rapunzel's 70 feet of hair required individual simulation. The ballroom sequence alone took a team of specialists over 18 months to complete. The cost reflects an obsessive dedication to craft that most audiences experience without ever consciously recognizing it. What does all of this tell us about the economics of modern filmmaking? A few things become very clear when you look at the pattern across these productions. First, franchise films cost more because the risk of continuity errors or quality dips is higher. Studios spend more to protect established brand value. Second, practical effects and real locations are often more expensive than CGI, not less. The assumption that digital effects are a cheap shortcut is wrong. High-quality visual effects at scale are extraordinarily expensive. Third, reshoots are budget killers. Justice League, which underwent massive reshoots after director Zack Snyder's departure, reportedly cost around $300 million in production, and some estimates place the true cost significantly higher when reshoots are factored in fully. The biggest takeaway here is about risk. When a studio commits $300 or $400 million to a single film, they are making a bet that would make most financial institutions nervous. The break-even point for a film with a $300 million production budget, accounting for marketing and distribution, is typically somewhere between $600 and $700 million at the global box office. Most films do not reach that number. The ones that do tend to be sequels, franchise entries, or films with massive pre-existing brand recognition. This is exactly why Hollywood keeps making superhero movies, sequels, and reboots, not because of a lack of creativity, but because the financial math at this budget level demands built-in audiences. The most expensive films ever made are not just cinematic achievements or financial disasters depending on how you look at them. They are case studies in ambition, mismanagement, innovation, and the extraordinary gamble that is modern studio filmmaking. Every one of those dollars represents a decision someone made, a risk someone accepted, and a creative vision someone believed in enough to write an enormous check for. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it does not. But the films that emerge from this process, for better or worse, shape the cultural landscape in ways that cheaper, safer films simply cannot. Before you go, if you learned something valuable today, hit that like button right now. Subscribe to BuzzCore for a brand new video every single day. We will see you in the next one.